Hello, guys. How's it going? Oh, let me turn this down a little bit. There we go. Welcome to the third episode of the Osu Coffee Hour. I'll be your host for the day once again. Happy Stick. As you can tell, I'm actually back home for this occasion. Well, not just for this occasion. I actually also live in my home. Today we'll be talking about Beatmap Nominators, Quality Assurance Team, all that good stuff. A little bit of a niche topic for a lot of people. I personally had to have a little bit of a crash course on the subject, only to be very overwhelmed and to basically realize that I didn't know nearly as much as I hoped that I already knew. So half of this podcast, about 20-30 minutes, we'll be dedicating to talking about the past couple of years, how the BN QAT systems, etc. have changed, challenges that we've run into, and how they will be approached. And then the second half will largely be about current systems, ideas to make it better, and community questions type of stuff. I'll be joined yet again by pishifat today, veteran mapper, as well as JBHyperion and Okorin. JBHyperion and Okorin are currently the guys that kind of are in charge of QAT type of stuff, right? So anything moving forward, they'll likely have had a hand in designing the system to do it. I actually got proper coffee this week instead of a beer. So by the end of it, we should remain coherent this time around. I'm joking. So yeah, we're good to go. I'm actually gonna be turning off the music for this episode because we had a little bit of mic issues with two of the guests. They were a little bit low, and otherwise the music would be a little bit overpowering. So, you know, we're gonna go ahead and do that. Most excellent. I like it. Let me unmute my Discord here. Hello there.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, below me will be Mr. Pishifat. He was also with us on the previous episode in the Loved section. Again, would you mind doing a short introduction on yourself, Mr. Pishifat?
Sure. As you can see below my name, I'm a mapper, and today
Not just any map, a veteran mapper.
a veteran mapper. Oh yeah. And today I'll be helping sort of make the conversation a little more digestible for most of you viewers out there who don't know much about mapping, because there's a lot of weird stuff during this coffee hour that's going to be hard to parse for you.
Yeah, a lot of terms thrown around like BN, QAT, bubbling,
that sort of stuff,
hearts, etc., etc. So I figured Pishy would be the perfect person to kind of bridge that gap. We also are joined by JBHyperion. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Nice to see you, Internet.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey throughout Osu and throughout the your involvement in stuff? When did you actually start playing? When did you start doing stuff? How did it go for you?
So I started playing OS in about September of 2014 after finding various Toho remixes and the like, and thought, hey, this looks pretty fun, so I'd give it a try.
That's relatively shortly ago. Huh.
Yeah, very, very recent in terms of some of the stuff that I think Pishifat's going to be talking about. So
Right.
I might not be able to give too much comment on some things a bit before my time. But I joined the Beatmap Nominators in about June of 2015, and then the QAT June the following year.
Did you right away start off mainly mapping, or was it?
I probably started mapping about 3 or 4 months after I joined OS.
All right.
And then modding very shortly after that, realizing that you don't get very far without helping other people.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Okorin, also QAT leadership at this point. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great for the time of the day.
For being, yeah.
Like Germany.
Is it 1 a.m. for both of you guys? I think it's midnight for Hyperion and 1 a.m. for Okorin.
Yeah, basically.
All right, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start? How did you get into mapping, into the BN QAT type of stuff?
Well, I started in like 2012, and I think the first time I touched the editor was in November of 2012. So basically 6 months after I started playing.
Okay.
And I proceeded to like do random stuff for about 2 years until I picked up modding.
So same story.
And-
Like once you started modding, you really got the hang of it, right?
And about a year later, I figured out how to mod well enough to actually rank maps,
Mm-hmm.
and then joined BN.
All right. Okay. Hyperion, you're actually a CTB mapper, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
Right,
I
okay.
started off mapping standard and then kind of jumped ship fairly soon after that.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a important trivia that pishifat mentioned like 5 minutes before he started. He's like, you know that he's a CTB mapper, right? I'm like, now I do. All right. Okay, no, so I said in the intro, I think it would be very beneficial for a lot of people watching. I think that like maybe 10% of people would really have a thorough understanding already of BN QAT type of stuff.
Not even 10%, I'd say.
I was given a generous estimate. I think it would be very, very worthwhile to get a little bit of a crash course on what it all means. First of all, BN QAT, obviously meaning Beatmap Nominator, QAT meaning Quality Assurance Team. pishifat gave me the crash course on that. Would you mind giving a short little overview of what those terms exactly entail?
Sure. Do you have that fancy image?
Oh, yes, I have the fancy image. Let me switch to set fancy image. Here we go. Fancy images. It's actually plural.
I think it's the one on the right that I want to focus on first. I don't know which one that is, though.
The one on the right is the Beatmap Nominators, QAT managers, developers.
Right. So, not going to talk about the top stuff, but the bottom stuff, QAT and Beatmap Nominator, those are like the people who are currently in charge of making beatmaps that get ranked work, I guess, making all the stuff go smoothly. So BN is Beatmap Nominator, as Happy Stick already said, which means they're the guys who push maps to rank. They say, okay, this map, good, go to ranked. What they do is 2 of them check a map minimum, and if they think, okay, this map is good enough, they'll rank it. They'll qualify it.
Right.
I think it's on the left chart. It says needs 2 nominations. So from there, it gets qualified. QAT then checks a QAT Quality Assurance Team. If the map has problems, someone will report it, and then QAT thinks, okay, if that's bad, yeah, we'll disqualify that. And then it'll go around and go through the process once more.
So the BM Nominators are basically the ones that look at all the maps that people make, say, okay, these are good. At this point, we're going to qualify them. And then the qualification process lasts a week in which it can be disqualified. And during that time, the QAT has like a week to actually go through it and see if they want to disqualify said map because it doesn't live up to the standards. That's
pretty
the
much
gist
more
of
like
it, right?
Community checks it for a week, not specifically QATs, but yeah, that's the idea.
Oh, okay. Whatever reaches the QAT's ears gets checked out.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. So this started out. Let's see. I got a handy little document here. Yeah. Would Hyperion or Okorin, would you guys mind giving a short little overview of how the BN QAT stuff came to be initially? Like, what was it initially? I think it was called BAT.
So I think obviously I'm quite new and didn't hang around for a lot of. I wasn't around for a lot of that time, so Okorin is probably better to field that one if he's available.
Oh.
So basically, started off with the Beatmap appreciation team, which basically did the same things as BNC
Such a
nowadays.
quaint name, isn't it? Beatmap appreciation team.
It's
I like
a very
it.
positive term, I'd say. At one point, they split that team up into the BAT and the modding assistance team, I think it was.
The MAT?
And
That
way
term?
back.
No,
Yeah,
that was a
MAT.
different one.
Yeah,
It's-
that's the MAT, yes.
Okay.
And those were basically in charge for checking maps and bubbling them, and the BAT was like in charge for bubbling and then ranking.
So if you're
Bubble meaning
unfamiliar with
first
it,
nomination.
right? Okay, Pitch was having the exact same thought. A bubble is the first nomination that basically sparks, interest in the map of behind the scenes people. Like, hey, this map is worth looking at. If I'm not is that a right way of saying it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what a bubble means. and then it needs another nomination to actually get to qualified, which is what all the BNs also do. Right.
Yeah,
so
basically.
okay. So let's see. BN timeline split 2014. Right. So what is the current system in place for how BN and QAT stuff is handled?
Well, it's first, I don't think it was like made clear enough. The BN QAT stuff like changes all the time.
Right.
It's like really erratic. There's things that change maybe once every 6 months, honestly. So it's hard to keep track of everything. But right now, I think we're in a better time. I think most people would say that.
Hopefully, it's continuously moving
A lot of people
forward.
would say that. As of just recently, this upheaval thing, which we'll probably talk about later.
Right.
Right now, probably it's better if JBHyperion could talk about it. There's been this thing where QAT was split into, not really split. They elected some leaders, which are those two guys. I don't know.
I'm not sure how to orient you. I think it's to your physical left.
So this.
Yeah,
this
that
way.
way. All right,
Yeah,
cool. You
these
got
guys.
it.
These guys are the new QAT leaders. So they like they're basically like the guys in charge of making things. The direction of QAT and BN stuff from now on is in charge by these guys.
Right. So I think that's a step that we missed initially, because why even have Hyperion and Okorin on?
Yeah.
What does QAT leadership entail? It's kind of a new thing where previously BNs and QAT were kind of their own two systems, but now the QAT also has a leadership team that kind of oversees the entire direction of both the QAT and the BN systems, right?
Yeah. Well,
right.
QAT was supposed to like lead over all the BN, but now we've got two guys who like we got that flowchart, right?
We got the flowchart. We got the flowchart.
Yeah.
We got that flowchart.
So Hyperion and Okorin, when did you guys start actually being QAT leadership, quote unquote?
So we had a vote which all current nominators and QAT members could participate in. That was about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And everyone got 2 votes of a list of candidates, of which myself and Okorin were there.
Mm-hmm.
We each passed a threshold of enough people saying, yeah, these guys are okay. So
they're adequate.
Now,
they would do an adequate job. All right. So what are the issues that there were that made it so that you guys that there wasn't ask for QAT leaders? What are some of the main issues that were propping up?
So a big problem that arose when we started out the subdivision system, which I guess we might come on to in a little bit, is QATs have a more direct governance and guidance over the Beatmap nominators.
Okay.
So QATs were talking to nominators more, and nominators were talking to QATs more. But there was a bit of a schism where QATs and developers couldn't communicate with each other effectively.
Because there was no line between QATs and the developers. So kind of a self-contained island.
There was no real way for us to get in touch with them and hear the kind of the needs of us and the needs of the nominators. So we are effectively filling that role, passing information back and forth between the QATs and the Beatmap nominators, and then the developers saying this needs to happen, or this might be able to be done better, or these guys want this, and so on.
Right. So kind of a bridge type of role, similar to what Pishy is currently doing, as symbolized by the fact that he's next to me, and then we got Hyperion. Literal bridge. Oh, my dog is. Oh, okay, he's good. Right. So you guys started 2 weeks ago. What is the main stuff that you've been working on for the past 2 weeks in that case? Because I'm sure you got right back, like right to work once you guys actually got into the role.
Well,
Yeah. So
Well,
Okorin, you can
First
carry
2
on.
weeks in Hawaii to kind of clear the mind, and then.
Ephemeral posted that fancy upheaval thing on the forums, and that basically kicked everything into motion.
Right, upheaval referring to the fact that everyone kind of was of the opinion that something had to change, and that set a process in motion?
A lot of stuff was pretty much stagnating,
Right.
And in order to get stuff moving, we needed to get some bigger changes happening, and that right now.
And
Mostly
okay.
that we had a tier system in place,
Right.
since like which is very, very similar to BAT and MAT stuff I described earlier. One group was tier 1, which only was able to do the first nomination.
So to my
of a
understanding, because it
Beatmap.
was a little bit confusing initially to me, when you say tiers, what it means is a BN or a Beatmap nominator gets picked up, then he gets put on a probation period for like a month, and then if he does okay for a month, and during that month he can only bubble stuff, meaning he can kind of only click maps that are
that's
like,
the same
hey,
idea.
that's a good map, and then when he gets past that probation period, he gets full Beatmap nominator privileges, right? So he's basically like a tier 2 BN after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
that's the way things work now. Before, there was a test where people had to mod a map and give feedback on whether they
It's
thought
sat
it
in an
was
empty room and no one
high
could talk to
quality.
you, and yeah.
Yeah.
And a major problem with that was people found it was too difficult to progress, and there were only tests every so often, and they tested specific things that didn't necessarily tell you exactly how good a person was, how fit they were
Right.
to qualify maps.
Because it's such a subjective subject as a whole, right? So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. So currently, we're in a situation where parts of the upheaval, so to speak, or stuff that needed to be changed, has already changed. What is the stuff that has already changed?
The tier system has already gone, as was discussed. So we're in that probation
so the
period
BN
now.
tier. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, every new BN, when they get picked up by the team, starts on a 1-month probation, and if they do good, we promote them and they can qualify and bubble maps.
Right.
And if they aren't very active or maybe need a bit more help, then we keep them on probation. We work closely with them to try and bring their confidence up and
Like a
get them up
training
to
period.
the skill that we expect. And then hopefully by the end of those 2 months, they're able to then become full members.
Wow, Beatmap stuff is a serious business. Like, I had honestly, I had no real context for a lot of the stuff that goes into it. And given that Pishy was on last time, and now the crash course that I got this time, it's crazy how much effort and how much thought and how many systems are in place behind the scenes. It kind of blows my mind. So you guys have went from a tier system to currently probation system. What else is currently already in place?
So one thing that was kind of like that should have come a long time ago was like there's a thing where BNs didn't have much recognition for what they were doing for a while,
Right.
because in 2015, shortly after something I don't need to talk about, they were like, okay, all you BNs, you're basically normal users now. We're gonna take away this like red name that you have on the forums and this like title you have that says Beatmap Nominator. You don't need those anymore.
Yeah. Which is a major kick to the knees, because it's like, then why even do anything, right?
It was like a lot of people who joined Beatmap Nominators are like, yeah, this red name is like, I'm cool now. But now, after that change, they were like, oh.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm doing anything. Yeah, sure. That makes perfect sense.
So then, like, for 2 years, people were like, okay, people lived with it. Eventually, we got some, like, badge that said Nominator.
Right.
But it wasn't the same, you know?
Yeah.
And so 2017 now, after this upheaval thing, what was proposed was, okay, Beatmap Nominators are not happy with their situation. Maybe we should give them a little bit of recognition just so they do a little bit of, they want to work better, I guess. Something like that. And so what they have now is purple names, similar to the mat way back, which is, it looks kind of similar to the current
purple names also in chat, like in actual OSU?
On Laser, yeah, but not in the
not in the normal client?
No.
Oh, that's pretty brutal.
That's before like the red name was disappeared. They couldn't have like red names in game either, so it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So getting rid of the tier system, moving into a probation system was number one. Then currently a little bit more recognition for what is being done by the BNs. Anything else?
Well, I should probably mention that's temporary recognition.
Right. Okay. Because it's okay. Tentative recognition.
We don't really know when it's gonna like disappear, but
that is for God Peppy to decide eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our job is to find something to replace that before that all kicks off, so that whenever we transition to whatever comes next, they're obviously still receiving that recognition they deserve.
Right. Also, something that I'm reading that changed was the upping from 1 qualification per person per day to 3 qualifications per day. What I mean by that is, so BNs usually used to only get to be able to qualify 1 map a day, and now they get 3. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
Okay.
I think it was like back in 2015 where qualified worked like a queue, which only allowed 7 match day, and the problem was that some BNs just started and camped some slots that got free.
Right.
So they were like able to qualify 5 maps within 2 minutes as those slots freed up, and everyone else had those 2 slots to share.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So they would just hog them because they happen to be around, and then everyone else had to wait.
Time zone sucks for that.
Right.
I had to wake up at like 8 in the morning to qualify maps.
Mom, I'm up at 3 a.m. to qualify my maps. Please leave me alone. Okay, no, that makes sense.
Basically, what happened, it was limited to like 1 per person per day, so that no one could like take all slots of a day on their own.
Right.
And then qualified as a queue changed itself. So now you can throw as many maps in as you want, and the maps that are older, that are 7 days or older, get ranked each day, but only like 6.
So for context, sorry, I'm just trying to think as much of like a community member who knows nothing about this stuff versus you. So whenever something comes up, qualified maps stay qualified for 7 days, during which they can be at least. Oh, it can be longer.
Yeah, it can be longer if if you have like more than, I think it's 42 or 40. Yeah, 42 maps in qualified. The last map, like the queue will just take the 6 last maps in the queue.
I think we're getting a little bit
7 days or older.
Okay.
So like, 6 maps get ranked at maximum per day.
Okay. So that 6 times 7 is 42. Right?
Yeah, and if there's more than 42,
that would have been really embarrassing.
It's just gonna take longer.
Okay. All right. So that got up to 3. So now there's more maps in qualified. I think I actually saw an Osu game Reddit the other day that this is the first time in history that there's actually 3 pages of qualified maps, meaning there's a lot of activity, right? In terms of new stuff that's getting.
Yeah. I think it's like 84 right now, and that's more than like I've ever seen before.
How many? 85?
84.
84. Wow.
Maybe there's a different number now.
Essentially double the amount that can pass through in the 7 days.
So.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So even if we like halted activity right now, it would at least take another week of like doing nothing, before ranked content just stops.
Right. Okay. So that is all the stuff that has already changed. What is stuff that you guys are currently working on to change? Well, I gotta grab my dog really quick. He's going a little bit ham.
So hand in hand with obviously beat mapping and ranking maps is the set of rules and guidelines that people have to follow to ensure quality, which is the ranking criteria. And it was a bit of a bare bones affair. Some things were written and some things were unwritten. Different people thought that rules existed or didn't exist. So over the past year and a half, we've taken to rewriting the ranking criteria in a more complete way that doesn't leave so many loopholes and everyone can understand.
Okay.
Okorin is really leading that at the moment.
Over time, it got kind of convoluted with a lot of stuff that wasn't necessarily still supposed to be in there, or is what I'm assuming?
It kind of grew a bit outdated. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's like an old wiki that just kind of grows on itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a nice anecdote I like to throw around is when I started mapping Catch, the ranking criteria consisted of 2 points, which were your map must be accessible and
there has to be fruits. Oh, it must be fun.
That was actually a rule in the ranking criteria.
Or XCon. All right. Okay. So yeah.
That's changing now.
Okay.
It's getting a little bit less strict, sort of. Like even the stuff that's been revised over the last year and a half is getting a little less strict because we want to just allow as many different types of maps in the ranked section as possible, so long as they still fit like basic logical rules.
Right. Okay. So that is currently where it's headed. Let's see. Oh yeah, how does this tie into? Because a lot of people are a little bit confused as to what modding v2, because that's a term that gets thrown around sometimes, but not a lot of people have context for what it actually means or how that even ties into the future of both BN QAT systems as well as anything related to it. Really, Pishy or someone that has a proper understanding, what does modding v2 exactly mean?
Modding v2 is the second form of modding. Well, it's basically it's a more concise way of modding, where you have, instead of just forum posts, you got
And modding meaning that you basically give people feedback on their maps.
Yeah, modding is like constructive criticism. So
Right.
modding v2 is just a more organized way to do that. That's not as like it's more friendly, I guess. Anyone can do it, compared to like making forum posts with some fancy formatting that nobody wants to do.
Right. Okay.
I never
it's a lot more approachable, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's supposed to be coming out very soon. I could have said that like for the last month though, so
2 years ago.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, but that's I mean, Peppy is the type of person, and the team in general, it seems it's ready when it's ready type of thing. Just want to do it right.
It's ready now. That's the thing.
Okay.
They could just send it down, and well, there's probably some preparations, but it's mostly there.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's what modding v2 is. Does it have any semblance on the future of BN and QAT type of stuff? Is that at all related?
Yeah, the interface is just gonna. Do I keep talking?
Either one. Say the same thing at the exact time. Make it stereo. No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Okorin.
That would require way more coordination than currently have here. Now, modding v2 is basically scheduled to replace modding on the forums in its entirety.
Right.
So the whole way modding is approached is going to change with that.
Okay. What about the end? So?
And when that's set live. The biggest point to figure out is how Kudos is going to work in that system.
Kudosu being like the points that you get if you mod stuff for other people, right? Okay.
Because instead of a single post getting 1 Kudos, you can have like 20 suggestions getting a different amount of Kudos, and we haven't figured out how to
scale that appropriately, because
to scale that properly to transition between both.
Gotcha. Okay.
At least I'm not aware that we figured that out.
Yeah.
if we have that figured out already, okay.
Because the end game is full automation of Beatmap nomination, to my understanding, right?
That's Peppy's goal.
That's
like everyone else's goal.
The wanted end game.
It's a little bit chaotic.
Okay.
If everything's automated.
Reason being that it's because it's such a subjective topic.
Reason being because like BNs are supposed to like control the quality of maps I get through, but if anyone can just like say, hey, I modded like a bunch of maps in whatever way that's abusable through Kudos, anyone could go and like rank a bunch of maps, and it could be really sketchy.
Okay, so it would be like a similar issue as to like Loved, where there's not as much of a quality control as you want. Okay.
I think it would be more organized than that, just because like there's standards that exist already, and people will try to at least adhere to those to the best of their ability, but it would be hard to do.
Okay.
Really hard to do.
That all ties back into the kind of probation of making sure people actually know what they're doing before we let them loose in qualifying whatever they like. But not only that, but also the QATs having a more active role in managing the Beatmap nominators and giving them the help that they need to develop. So if they have any questions or aren't sure about something, they can say, hey, this map looks great, but I'm not sure about this thing. Can you give me an opinion on it? And then make a decision based on that.
Okay. Hyperion or...
Oh,
sorry.
Relating to modding v2 though, that's probably where that automated system would become like actually a thing. Because right now in the forum system, there's no chance of it. But modding v2 with like, however it sort of organizes Kudos earnings, that'll be how it's eventually automated, if ever. I think, maybe. It's up to Pep.
It all is in the end. So, Hyperion or Okorin, do you guys have any other stuff that's still in the works that you'd like to elaborate on, or maybe bring forward to talk about that you can think of outside of the community questions that we have lined up?
So one of the major points that was talked about on the upheaval was how we reward BNs and so on and so forth. And they've got a purple name now, and we said, well, maybe that won't hang around in whatever new format is rolled out. So there was a survey that had gone out a few weeks ago asking people what they valued in their work, whether they thought ranking lots of maps or modding maps from lots of different people, working as part of a team, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing that we're going to be working on very soon in order to decide how we can robustly judge who's doing the best and who deserves the rewards for putting in this dedicated service, because we've got to admit it's a fairly thankless task to some extent. I mean, people aren't being paid or given supporter, or I mean, we only just now they've gotten a name color change. And that's a really exciting thing. So you can see the state of the situation for the last few years.
I mean, it's such a hard type of thing, right? Because it's all community contributions. It's such a subjective topic. It's so hard to keep track of stats of who's doing what, because it's not like an objective type of thing. Reading about the past few years and how things have changed, it's quite incredible. Okay, so we'll pull up some community questions that we got. We'll go over those. From Raiden, will the developers work closer in response to the community's wishes more often with these changes that are going to be going through?
Flowcharts.
You're right.
That's JBH and Oko territory.
Yeah, so obviously we can't promise that developers and those guys will listen to us, but with the role of QAT manager being to act as a bridge, it definitely facilitates more discussion between the two teams.
I mean, that sounds very harsh, but from my personal experience, the devs and Pepe himself are very, very open to suggestions as long as they're well thought out.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what I'm hoping that we can bring forward. So we'll talk about things with the Beatmap Nominators and the QAT and decide, yes, these things we think they're doable and they're worth doing, and then bring them to the developers. They might get back to us saying, this is okay, but you need to change this, and this needs to be rethought. And then we bounce backwards and forwards until hopefully we can reach a compromise where everyone's happy.
Right. Okay. So you guys in this flowchart, if it wasn't already obvious, these guys are the QAT managers in that flowcharts, QAT leadership. So they're basically going to be the bridge between QAT BNs and staff itself. So in that sense, answer your question, probably yes. How will BNs function with modding V2 and Laser, and how will this affect the current/upcoming BN/QAT systems? We already kind of went into that because it's so hard to say. And the main thing that Okorin mentioned was the Kudosu change in terms of how that is approached, if I'm not mistaken.
How that is scaled to transition between both systems.
Right. Okay.
Like there's people who have like 2,000 kudos right now in our current modding system. How does that translate into the new system where you can possibly earn a different amount of kudos that you would have normally gotten in like one post?
Right. And outside of that, there's not much to talk about in terms of what will change. It's more like I feel like
nomination work. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like the systems would not really be dependent on which type of modding or which OSU client is in place, right? Because mapping is.
The only thing that possibly matters is like how people get promoted to BNs, because right now that's based on like partially their kudos score.
Okay.
And once that changes, we'll have to like adjust for whatever thresholds we have.
A bit of math.
Right, based on what happens in practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, currently there's still planned to be 2 nominations per map to get into qualified. We can still DQ maps, disqualify maps that we don't think are ready, and then they go back and we review them again. So I don't think that's going to change. But as Pishy said, it's really how we decide who gets a chance to kind of prove themselves and join the Beatmap Nominators in the future that we need to work out.
Okay. Looking at the history of the BN/BAT/MAT, etc., what are your opinions on mapping quality today as compared to in previous years? Asked by Monstrata, of all people. Pishy can start with this one.
I feel like he's referencing some thread that I saw a couple days ago.
Okay.
It's like about creative mapping, like people needing to promote more creative mapping. And in that thread, people were saying like a lot of the standards that people uphold today are like inspired directly by whatever the QAT was doing in 2014, 2015 with disqualifications.
Okay.
They had like pretty strict standards back then.
Right.
And so a lot of people from then on were like, okay, a lot of BNs at least were like, okay, I gotta nominate really safe maps just because getting maps disqualified is dangerous because you can get kicked out if you get too many disqualifications.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So that ended up changing at some point, but like still the mindset of, oh man, you can't get disqualifications or else you're a bad Beatmap nominator.
Right.
If you do that, or if you use that mindset forever, then you're just going to have a bunch of generic maps, which
stagnant and right. Sure.
What Motsrad is concerned about, I think. In the past, I guess there was less concern over specifics of quality that are upheld today. So there was a lot of different maps, and there's a lot of like other aspects that are worth mentioning, like PP kind of destroying creativity in a way.
Yeah, there's a lot of sides to it. Yeah,
it's looking at history of stuff. What?
It's almost philosophical at this point. Like, you can look at it from so many different angles.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two main ones are the ones that Pishy mentioned, right? The PP aspect and then the QAT having kind of an overlord type of
probably that was like
situation with the BNs going. Okay, all right.
Yeah. As for how I think about it, though, like how I feel about the quality standards changing, I feel like people can still make and qualify like more creative maps. How we go about making that happen, though, it really depends on who the nominators are. The nominators have to want to do it, not just like we can't just say, hey, go make more creative maps.
Sure, yeah. Hyperion or Okorin, do you guys have any thoughts on that? How to make it so that it's less punishing for BNs to kind of go on a limb and sometimes qualify very creative but not necessarily objectively as solid stuff?
Well, personally, I believe that making mistakes is fine as long as you learn from them. And if you qualify something that's a bit left field and crazy and people respond to it negatively, then you learn, oh, how could this concept be executed better but still kind of retain the uniqueness that you're looking for? And if it works, then who knows, maybe it'll catch on, and stuff that we call unique and novel today might be what every map looks like in 2 years' time. These things,
like mystery type of stuff comes to mind from like how long ago?
That I've been here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's very reasonable. No, I agree. As long as the thought process behind why someone did something is solid, then there's no reason to.
There's no more like punishment now, really.
Oh, there's not. Oh, okay.
It's just the punishment was in the past, and people still think like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right. No, that makes sense too. All right.
But punishment thing is only like if you are directly and obviously abusing whatever you're doing right now to like go around and just place random nominations, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, if you're dumb. Basically.
Yeah, just don't be dumb is the answer. Tatatat asked, how many BNs and QATs is it going to take to nominate hybrid sets in modding V2? For context, hybrid sets means that there's more than one game mode incorporated in a set of beat maps. Hyperion or
two.
More than two. Oh.
There's no plans to change that anytime soon, I don't think.
Okay, well, what is the current system?
The current system is one bubble and one heart, and in modding V2 it's just going to be 2 nominations, 1 and 2. They're not going to be kind of differentiated between.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same thing. It just removes a bit of flavor.
I mean, BNs sort of like check. We don't use those like game mode specific icons anymore, but BNs of each mode still check hybrid map sets. There's still just gonna be 2 nominations though.
Okay. Oh. My dog was barking for no reason. Is there anything planned for the future to help offset the massive difference between the amount of BNs, QATs, and maps? Asked by Maxi. So first context, what does he mean by massive difference between amount of BNs and QATs versus maps?
I think this is probably referencing the fact that a lot of people find it quite difficult to find a Beatmap nominator to look at their map, because there's just so many more mappers now. There's more Beatmap nominators and QATs also, but the amount of people mapping is outpacing the amount of people modding and then kind of nominating those maps.
Right.
So one thing that hopefully would combat that, which we talked on a bit earlier, is the more automated process for promoting people into the Beatmap nominators. That will
Right.
obviously free up a lot more people to push maps forward.
Okay.
So that would be what I would expect to take going forward from that.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard that is because like the smaller the team of BNs, the more you have quality assurance. But then there's so many maps that you need more BNs, which means you're going to give up on that quality. So I can imagine how hard it is to find the balance between the two.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a catch-22, unfortunately, but we've got to work with that.
What do you want to say, Okorin?
Well, the more people you have in BN, the more like quarrels within BN you will have, because
Right.
more people is like directly falling.
More politics.
More
involved.
More differing opinions within like the Beatmap nominators. Whatever some nominator might think is totally okay and fine, someone else might just be of the opinion that that's just garbage or something.
Right.
So
Okay.
the more nominators we have, the more like internal quarrels we would have to expect.
All right.
On the flip side of that, though, as long as you can manage that situation, more people brings more variety, and maybe that will lead to a more diverse array of mapping output in the future.
I think in a way, it's also just kind of a situation where you sometimes just have to accept that, similar to a workplace, depending on who your management is, some things are going to be okay and some things are not, right? Like it's impossible to make it uniform if there's enough people involved. Okay. So subdivisions have proven to be less synergistic than hoped for, and some Beatmap nominator groups members couldn't care less. What does the future hold for Beatmap nominator subdivisions? So subdivisions, for context, what I think was a recent change, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the fact that there's now teams of Beatmap nominators that are headed by one QAT person. Am I saying that right, Pishy?
Yeah. QAT person's a little weird, but yeah.
So they each have a couple of Beatmap nominators kind of under their wing to guide. So what this person is asking, Squirrel Pascals, saying they're less synergistic, or they work together less than they're quote unquote supposed to. Do you guys have any thoughts on the future for those subdivisions as they currently are? Abolishment, positive reinforcement, anything?
Well, the upheaval sort of mentioned like something about this, where there was supposed to be a new reporting map system where people just like press a button and maps reported to QAT members.
Right.
That's not implemented yet, but part of that was like maps that are reported to get sent to subdivisions, so subdivisions like have some sort of thing they're supposed to work on together. Although that hasn't happened, so I don't really know if it's ever going to happen.
Okay.
But something like that would be interesting, just like anything, any sort of obligations that we have, because right now every group runs, it's supposed to be every group runs with whatever ideas their QAT leader wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of QAT leaders don't have any ideas of what to do. Just like set up a spreadsheet and they go, okay, I'm
yeah.
done.
Or the time or the want. Yeah, no, that makes perfect. Again, it's one of those situations where just like BN's not getting recognition, it's really hard to find motivation for something if you don't necessarily get anything in return. Hyperion or Okorin, do you guys have any thoughts on that specifically?
So I personally think it might be...
Oh, sorry, that was fast. Wow.
Yeah, no, go on.
So I was saying, personally, I think it's a bit critical to say that they've failed or not been successful. I mean, personally, the subdivision that I lead, I think, has performed very well. We've output more quantity and quality than has been seen in recent months, and I find it a nice way to chat to my team as equals. I mean, we all nominate maps. We all want to push more maps forward and see quality improve. So I think it is a nice way to share ideas, ask for help. With nominators that are in probation, it's a nice way to guide and monitor them. But
okay.
Maybe some other people
Squirrel Pascals is a standard Beatmap nominator. Like he's probably referring to more to like the situation with standard nomination or standard subdivisions, because most of them are pretty inactive. Your catch one is probably much better than ours. I think Oko is the only one that has like a proper running one. The others are sort of either half running or like they're nothing.
You also mentioned something, Pishy, that like initially there was like a plan to have rewards for who was performing best, which teams were performing best.
Right. Well,
But
that
that also
sort of
never happened.
that sort of got replaced by like the new rights that Beatmap Nominators have, the purple name and the new title.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. Like the
Those were the
incentive
rewards.
stuff.
Now they have them. So
So originally we wanted to have a system that rewarded people for working well as part of a team and pushing maps forward together.
Right.
But in the survey that I talked about before, that was something that was kind of voted fairly negatively. Not that people hated subdivisions so much, but people didn't like the idea that they were tied into one place and they would be forced to work together with people that they might disagree with.
Sure.
So take that off the table. If we allow subdivisions to be more fluid, people can kind of transfer between them every so often and say, I think I need a fresh start, or this team's doing really well, I want to work with them and learn something new. Then that's something that I think people would definitely appreciate, the ability to go where A, they think they can perform to the best of their abilities, and B, where they think they would fit in well with other people that either think like them or think a bit different to them and might give them some new ideas.
Do you guys think it would be a solid approach to kind of standardize the reporting structure, or at least approach of that each of those QAT leaders would have managing their group, so as to at least have a standard in place from which to start working with? Because it sounds like everyone was just like assigned a couple of BNs and then like just do with them whatever. But maybe that gives it so that it lacks a lot of direction for a lot of people.
yeah, basically, that idea that you just said was proposed on the upheaval, right?
Okay.
And for that, we don't know if that's going to actually go through, but I think just having like some goal of some sort, it'll work out if we do that.
Okay.
And what JBH said about fluidity, right?
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
good.
No, it's hard because it's a battle between what people are comfortable with in terms of their managing style, but also then to what extent do you not want them to have direction? All right. So, do any of you guys have anything else to add or bring forward that you would like to discuss?
No.
No, I think we're good. Obviously, if people have questions, then we can maybe respond to those. But we've covered pretty much everything that we really wanted to get across, I think.
Okay. All right. My dog's gonna be really happy with that because he really needs to go out. Hi, bud. All right. So, Fishy, thank you for being on again for the second time in a row. Hyperion, Okorin, thank you guys for taking the time to join us, even though it is currently 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., if I'm not mistaken, for you guys.
That's
Yeah,
no
good
big
morning.
deal. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And see you guys around. Oh, there we go. Professional at work. Managing a dog in my lap at the same time. Not as easy as I had hoped. So a little bit of a different direction than usual in terms of the subject, but we thought it was very important because it's such an integral part of how OS was run that is very, very easy to forget how much time and effort goes into it, how many people are involved. And for a lot of people, myself included, I personally had no idea how it even really worked until I looked into it more over the past week. So it was definitely an interesting new perspective for me, and I hope for you as well. I'm sure that these guys are going to be in chat for a little bit if you have any questions. We have next episode already planned out in terms of the subject. Same goes for the one after that, and I can tell you that it's two pretty exciting subjects. I'm looking forward to those. Yeah, Dogo really needs to go outside. So I'm going to thank you guys for joining us on the third episode of the Coffee Hour, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday or early start of your Saturday. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, guys.